Stop chasing her. Yes, you heard me right. The more you run after her, the more invisible you become in her eyes. Women don't fall for men who beg for their attention. They fall for men who carry themselves with confidence, self-respect, and mystery. And the moment you stop chasing, something shifts. She starts to think, she starts to wonder, and she starts to see you differently. When it comes to attraction, one of the most misunderstood concepts is the idea that chasing someone proves your love or worth. Many men believe that constant attention, endless messages, and relentless pursuit will make a woman feel valued and ultimately fall for them. But the reality is the opposite. Chasing reduces attraction because desire is fueled by freedom, mystery, and the sense that something valuable might not be easily obtainable. When you over-pursue, you create an environment where she no longer has to invest emotionally. She doesn't have to wonder about your intentions, your feelings, or your value because you have already given it all away. This is where the magic of restraint comes into play. By stepping back and allowing some distance, you create an opportunity for her to see you differently. You are no longer a figure who is constantly available at her beck and call, but a man who has boundaries, self-respect, and a life beyond her. This shift automatically elevates your perceived value in her mind because humans are naturally drawn to things that are rare, significant, and not easily accessible. Chasing often comes from fear, the fear of losing her, the fear of being ignored, or the fear of being alone. But fear-driven behavior is never attractive. When a woman senses desperation, even if it comes from a place of love, it diminishes respect. Respect and attraction go hand in hand. Without them, no amount of attention or effort can create genuine desire. On the why chasing never works. Other hand, we are sides. When you stop chasing, you show that you are confident enough to step back, to let things unfold naturally, and to trust that the right energy will come back to you. It signals emotional maturity and self-assuredness, traits that women are instinctively drawn to. It's also important to understand that chasing can lead to imbalance. Relationships thrive on mutual effort and investment. If one person is constantly pursuing while the other is always being pursued, it creates a dynamic where one side holds power over the other. By halting the chase, you restore equilibrium. You allow the relationship or the potential for one to develop based on genuine interest and attraction rather than obligation or guilt. She begins to wonder why you are no longer seeking her attention so aggressively. Her mind starts to fill in the gaps, questioning whether she might have underestimated you, whether she took you for granted, or whether she truly values what you bring to her life. This internal reflection is far more powerful than any words or gestures you could offer while chasing. Ultimately, stopping the chase isn't about manipulation or playing games. It's about respecting yourself and your worth. It's about creating space for authentic attraction to grow where she notices your value without pressure. By embracing this mindset, you not only increase your chances of genuine connection, but you also reclaim your emotional power, ensuring that any relationship that develops is rooted in respect, curiosity, and mutual desire, rather than fear or desperation. When you step back and create a sense of absence, something remarkable begins to happen in her mind. Human beings are naturally drawn to what they can't fully grasp, to the things that are not constantly in front of them. When you stop chasing her, you introduce that very element into the relationship: space. This absence is not about playing games or being cold. It's about giving her room to reflect, to feel, and to realize the value of what she might have been taking for granted. The moment you remove yourself from constant pursuit, she begins to notice the silence, the gap, and the shift in your behavior. Her mind starts to fill in the blanks. Questions arise, often unconsciously. Why isn't he calling? Did I push him away? Does he even care? These questions spark curiosity, and curiosity is the heartbeat of desire. It awakens emotions that may have been dormant when your attention was always readily available. Curiosity is powerful because it engages her imagination and emotions. When a man is always chasing, there's no mystery what she really thinks. When you stop, no space for imagination. She sees everything you do, every effort you make, and she begins to take it for granted. But when you create absence, you allow her to wonder. She begins to replay memories, think about your interactions, and notice the qualities that made you attractive in the first place. That reflection is what leads to emotional investment. The distance creates a mirror in which she sees her own feelings more clearly. She starts to feel the pull of your presence, not because you demanded it, but because she is confronting the reality of your value on her own terms. Absence also tests her intentions and her level of interest. Some people may only respond when someone is actively pursuing them, but genuine attraction cannot be forced. By stepping back, you separate those who are genuinely interested from those who are indifferent or taken for granted. This is crucial because it ensures that any attention or affection she eventually shows comes from authentic desire rather than obligation. In essence, absence is a filter. It clarifies who truly wants to be in your life. It's important to note that creating absence doesn't mean ignoring or disrespecting her. It means prioritizing your life, focusing on your growth, and maintaining your dignity. You become less emotionally available in a way that signals self-respect and independence. These traits are inherently attractive because they show that your world doesn't revolve around her, yet she remains a valued part of it. The paradox is simple. The less you chase, the more she notices you. She begins to step forward naturally, drawn by curiosity, respect, and the recognition of your self-worth. Ultimately, creating absence transforms the dynamic of attraction. It shifts power from one-sided pursuit to mutual interest. She begins to invest emotionally, not because you demanded it, but because she feels compelled to. Her thoughts, once passive, become active as she starts questioning her feelings, her choices, and the connection you share. By embracing the power of absence, you allow attraction to flourish organically, creating a foundation for a deeper, more authentic relationship built on curiosity, desire, and mutual respect. A woman wants to feel like she is making a choice, not that she is being forced or pressured into someone's life. This is why letting her choose you is so powerful. It taps into a deep psychological need for autonomy and self-determination. When you chase her relentlessly, you unintentionally take away her sense of agency. She may enjoy the attention for a while, but over time it can feel suffocating or even predictable. Human beings are naturally drawn to what feels like a conscious, voluntary decision, rather than something coerced or handed over. By stepping back and allowing her to make the choice to engage with you, the power of detachment, you elevate your value in her mind. She begins to see you not as someone desperate for validation, but as a man who is confident, self-assured, and in control of his own life. This shift in perspective is often the turning point in attraction. Allowing her to choose doesn't mean you become passive or indifferent. It means you respect yourself enough to stop chasing approval. You focus on your life, your growth, and your goal, signaling that your happiness does not depend on her attention. This independence is magnetic. It shows that you are not afraid of being alone and that you bring completeness into any interaction you choose to have. Women are instinctively drawn to men who are whole and self-sufficient because such men do not rely on others to define their worth. By creating this space, you provide her the opportunity to step forward of her own volition, to make the choice to connect with someone who is confident and balanced. When she has the freedom to choose, the dynamic of your interaction changes. The relationship or potential relationship is no longer about one person constantly pursuing and the other passively receiving. It becomes a mutual exchange based on genuine interest. This mutuality fosters respect and attraction because it demonstrates that the connection is not based on fear, obligation, or manipulation, but on authentic desire. She begins to feel her own emotional investment, and that feeling is far stronger than anything you could have created by chasing. The act of choosing someone herself gives her a sense of power and involvement in the dynamic, which paradoxically makes her more emotionally attached. It's important to recognize that letting her choose also involves patience and trust. You have to trust that if she truly values you, she will step forward. Not everyone will, and that is precisely the point. By not chasing, you filter out those who are not genuinely interested. What remains is a connection that is built on mutual respect and conscious choice. When she realizes she is choosing you, she feels the significance of that decision. It becomes meaningful because it was her decision, not something forced upon her. That meaning adds depth to her attraction and makes the bond stronger. Ultimately, letting her choose you is about empowerment for both of you. You empower yourself by refusing to chase validation, and you empower her by giving her the freedom to decide her path. This balance creates a healthy magnetic dynamic where attraction is real, desire is authentic, and respect is mutual. In the end, the power of choice ensures that any connection that develops is genuine, lasting, and rooted in emotional integrity rather than desperation. Showing self-worth over seeking validation is one of the most powerful principles in attraction and relationships. Many men fall into the female psychology explained trap of constantly seeking approval, attention, or reassurance from a woman, believing that their value is measured by how much she notices them or responds to their efforts. But this approach is fundamentally flawed because it places your sense of self-worth outside of yourself in someone else's hands. True attraction comes from a man who understands his value, respects himself, and demonstrates confidence without needing external validation. When a woman senses that a man is emotionally whole, secure, and independent, it ignites a deep level of respect and interest. In contrast, when she feels that her attention is the only source of his confidence, desire diminishes and the dynamic shifts unfavorably. Self-worth manifests in many subtle ways. The way you carry yourself, the boundaries you set, the priorities you maintain, and the confidence in your decisions. When you stop chasing and start focusing on your life, your passions, and your growth, you project an aura of self-respect. This is magnetic because it communicates that you are not desperate for approval or validation. Women are drawn to men who have a life that is full, meaningful, and independent of her presence. When your happiness and fulfillment are not contingent upon her attention, she unconsciously senses the stability, security, and emotional strength that come from a man who knows his value. This alone creates an irresistible form of attraction. Seeking validation, on the other hand, often comes across as neediness, insecurity, or dependency. When a man constantly XTS calls or tries to impress, he is signaling that his self-worth is tied to her reactions. This undermines respect and attraction because it creates an imbalance. One person is giving too much and the other is not required to invest emotionally. By prioritizing your own self-worth, you reverse this imbalance. You demonstrate that you are not reliant on external affirmation, and this encourages a woman to invest emotionally on her own, creating a more balanced, mutual, and genuine connection. Valuing yourself also allows you to make conscious decisions rather than acting from fear or desire to please. You no longer chase what you want desperately. Instead, you attract what aligns with your standards and principles. A woman notices this immediately because it differentiates you from the countless others who will bend over backward for attention. It conveys strength, dignity, and maturity, qualities that are universally attractive. Furthermore, when a man maintains his self-worth, he sets the tone for how he expects to be treated. Women naturally respond to this boundary, why men lose value when they chase, because it signals that you respect yourself and therefore must be respected in return. Ultimately, showing self-worth over seeking validation is about reclaiming your power in relationships. It transforms your dynamic from one of desperation to one of mutual respect, curiosity, and attraction. You no longer chase. Instead, you become magnetic, confident, and desirable. When a woman recognizes that you are emotionally independent, she not only notices your presence, but is drawn to it in a way that chasing could never achieve. Self-worth is the invisible force that shifts attention, fuels desire, and creates authentic attraction that lasts far beyond superficial effort. Shifting a dynamic in a relationship is one of the most transformative steps a man can take when it comes to attraction. Many men unknowingly create an unbalanced dynamic by chasing, overinvesting, or constantly seeking validation from a woman. In these scenarios, the power rests entirely with her, whether consciously or unconsciously, because she is the one being pursued while you are the one bending over backward to gain attention or approval. This imbalance is often invisible at first, but it slowly erodes respect, desire, and emotional engagement. The moment you stop chasing, you shift this dynamic, reclaiming your personal power and creating an environment where attraction can grow naturally. By refusing to overextend or to make her the center of your emotional universe, you force the relationship to operate on mutual terms. Shifting the dynamic does not mean being cold or indifferent. It means establishing boundaries and demonstrating self-respect. When you step back, you communicate that your life, happiness, and emotional well-being are not dependent on her reactions. This simple act conveys confidence, independence, and maturity, all traits that women are instinctively drawn to. Instead of the relationship being a one-sided pursuit, it becomes an interplay of mutual curiosity and interest. She is now challenged in a healthy way to consider her own feelings and investment rather than passively receiving yours. This change transforms her perception of you, making you appear more valuable, intriguing, and emotionally resilient. When the dynamic shifts, she begins to notice the qualities that might have been overlooked while you were chasing. Your independence, your focus on personal goals, and your self-confidence suddenly stand out. She begins to ask herself questions she hadn't considered before. Is he really that different from the others? Does he have his own life and priorities? Why am I thinking about him more now? This self-reflection is powerful because it moves her from a place of complacency to a place of genuine interest. When a woman actively engages with her thoughts and feelings about you, the connection deepens organically. Attraction is no longer building magnetic presence manufactured through constant effort. It arises naturally because she is investing emotionally on her own. Shifting the dynamic also serves as a test of authenticity. Not everyone will respond positively to your independence or your decision to stop chasing, and that is exactly the point. By creating space and asserting your boundaries, you filter out those who are not genuinely interested or who are drawn only to desperate attention. What remains is a connection built on conscious choice, mutual respect, and authentic desire. This creates a stronger foundation for any relationship, ensuring that it is based on genuine connection rather than manipulation or neediness. Ultimately, shifting the dynamic is about empowerment for both parties. You empower yourself by reclaiming your time, energy, and emotional power. She is empowered to step forward, make choices, and engage because she wants to, not because she feels obligated. This balance fosters deeper attraction, curiosity, and respect. When the dynamic is healthy, she begins pursuing or appreciating you naturally, and the relationship evolves into a space where mutual desire, admiration, and emotional connection thrive. This is the ultimate effect of stopping the chase and shifting the dynamic. You create a bond that is magnetic, authentic, and rooted in respect.